And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we're going to be looking at a Mel Kiper mock draft, and he does a mock draft of 2 rounds, and he has 2 players going to the Washington Commanders that have tons of potential, and we're going to be talking about if this is a good fit for the Washington Commanders. And so before we go ahead and jump into that, I first wanted to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, just like Jaden Daniels is going to be hitting Zach Ertz, Terry McLaurin, and Deebo Samuel for a lot of touchdowns this upcoming season. And so in exchange for hitting that like and that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Washington Commanders. And so make sure you go ahead, you hit that subscribe, you join the Washington Commanders Insider family as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it as we are talking more NFL draft prospects as the NFL draft is right around the corner. And today we look at an article that you can find here on Commanders Wire. If you go into this, it's going to have the snippets from the Mel Kiper mock draft, and he does a two-round mock draft. And, it's on ESPN.com. I believe it's on ESPN Plus, but you get a chance to see what he's talking about in regards to the 2 players that he has going to the Washington Commanders. And so let's go ahead and jump into the first player that he has listed going to the Washington Commanders. And so it is a defensive end here out of Texas A&M, and it is Shemar Stewart, defensive end here. And so look, initially when I looked at his tape, man, I mean, you just see a guy that he's just a disruptive player. Like it seems like every play, if he's not getting to the ball carrier or at least getting to the quarterback, he's there. Like he just seems like he's making the offense uncomfortable. So I think that is plus number 1. You're looking at a guy that is going to be super disruptive. Next up, another thing that I think really shows on his tape has got to be his ability to push. I think that his bull rush was terrific. I think that there's several times on tape you're seeing him pushing defensive, or not defensive, but you're seeing him pushing offensive players back into the line of scrimmage. And so whether it's somebody there on the line or if it's a tight end, whoever's trying to block him, he is pushing them back into the quarterback's lap. And so you love the power that he's able to generate. Next up, I think another thing that he does well to me is I think that there were a lot of times that he kind of sets the edge because, he always kind of seems like, at least on tape, he's making the offense go in a different direction as he's coming in. So I think that right there, it shows you that he can be certainly a good edge setter, which is something we certainly would need here with the Washington Commanders. And so next up, I think another thing that he has is, man, his just ability to kind of, it's the pressures and the hurries, because like I said, if he's not getting the tackle, there were several times on tape he's making the quarterback have to adjust, get out of bounds, whatever the case may be. So it looks like that he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to generate a lot of pressures and just, again, be disruptive here. And so what are the knocks about him? And so they say that this is according to the NFL Draft Buzz profile. One of the things is like he's just his hands as far as kind of utilizing those to the max potential. I think that's something that he has to work on. So really refining the techniques, just trying to understand, as he comes in as a pass rusher, more with a plan. I think that was the next thing there. But there's a lot of pluses about him, and every NFL draft prospect is going to have to definitely go out there and get better. And so another thing that I wanted to add to is why I like this guy is because he can also be a rusher that, he can be a standing rusher, and he also can come from a 3-point stance. And so what that means is you're getting versatility. And so versatility is something that I always love on the defensive side of the ball, because you're going to be able to give offenses different looks, and that can be a disaster for an offense. And so there's a lot of stuff to like about him. Now, according to what Mel Kiper was saying, it looks like that he had him going for at least, I think, as high as 17 to the Cincinnati Bengals. But the one thing about him is just its untapped potential. And that's what is scary, but it's also something that could really be something that is a steal, because you're talking about a guy that he didn't necessarily have like a ton of sacks in his career. In fact, he only had, I think, 1.5 sacks through his 3 seasons there each season. But it's just that if he puts it all together, he could be spectacular. And I guess here at the combine is where he really put it together. I guess he had a 4.5 is what he ran there, and he also too had an amazing like kind of broad jump, and it compares a lot to a Myles Garrett, but he has to be a player that puts it together. So a lot of potential. And, just saying that maybe the Washington Commanders would take a chance. And so, look, I don't know if he would be a day one type of player, but man, if he can put it all together, I think he could be certainly a guy that maybe he does become a day one player if he's able to get it going after camp or whatnot. But I think certainly for the long term, if the Commanders can get the most out of him, then I think he might be a steal for us. And so next up, the next player that Mel Kiper talks about here is their cornerback out of Iowa State. And so initially with him, the one thing about him is he's got amazing speed, because I was looking here at the NFL draft buzz. And so he is a guy that, look, I guess he was in the quarter mile. He ran 46.99. And so I can tell you as a track and field runner that is moving. And so he has that type of track speed. And so the ability to come back and recover, after being beaten by a wide receiver, that really shows on tape. I think next, for him, the length and the range. Like, I was super impressed, man, with just his ability to kind of use his length to kind of redirect wide receivers and things like that. In fact, he's 6'4", 200 pounds. And so he has great size for a corner. And man, he's going to make it tough for opposing wide receivers to get catches. And then next up, what I love about him is his ability to track the football. And so this really leads into kind of an added bonus here. I guess he came into college as a wide receiver, made the switch over to the cornerback position. And so you see a lot of those qualities at the corner position. So his ability to track the football and just pluck it out of the air at the highest point, like, man, his interceptions looked impressive. And here's a guy that got just progressively better. And this is why you like him, because he's a guy that it looks like, much like Shemar Stewart, these are guys that they have a lot of potential. They've shown some progress over their time in college, and he's definitely a player that, look, he needs to get better as far as just kind of redefining his techniques and things like that. Obviously, he hasn't played a lot of time at the cornerback position, but he was durable. Here's a guy that, look, he looks like he's got the speed, he's got the length, he's got the range. Obviously, it just comes down to technique. Could he be a day one starter? I'm not sure about that, but I do like the fact that he could maybe contribute in the special teams, because he was able to block, I think, some punts. I saw one play where he was able to get a deflection there. He was also able to block a field goal as well. And so that shows you that he could be maybe a special teamer from day one. So even if he's not a starter or in your secondary, here's a guy that you can put on the field, and maybe he can be an impact in the special teams game. And that's huge. One of the things that Dan Quinn was talking about, I believe, at the coaches meeting, was just the Washington Commanders putting the ball in play. And so, look, if you can get a guy that can either create a turnover, can get down on special teams, and force teams to really work a longer portion of the field, that's just as good as having a great defender out there. And so anyway, let me know in the comments here, what do you think about Mel Kiper here mocking both of these two players to the Washington Commanders? Because I think the bottom line here is there's tons of potential on these guys, and just untapped potential. And it's like, they're players where they're not far off. I think that they're showing enough that they just need just a little bit more refining, and maybe you might have something here. And so I think that if the Commanders were taking these two players, I wouldn't be mad at it. I think we do have the coaching staff that can maybe bring the best out of these guys. And so anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, go Commanders, and I will see you in the next one. All right, peace.